Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Or if you happen to be new, please click on the subscribe button to stay up to date and current with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. So today I'm talking to you about Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 4, entitled Mugato, Gumato. Very Mugato heavy this episode, where we get to see the Mugato, which we haven't kind of done since the original series episode. I think it was A Private Little War in Season 2, which was essentially like a guy in a gorilla suit with a horn. So we're back again for that action as part of Lower Decks. We've got Boimler and Rutherford pairing up together to uncover this sort of Ferengi poaching operation with the Mugato. We've got Mariner doing sort of suspicious things and suspected of Black Ops involvement. We've got Tendi trying to just take medical scans of people on board the ship, and just the usual Cerritos hijinks. So let's take a look at the episode. So the episode starts off with Mariner and Boimler and Rutherford having a Ambo Jitsu match, which we haven't seen in Star Trek since the Season 2 episode of Next Generation, where Riker and his dad teamed up and had a bit of a fight in the holodeck. Bit of an odd game, this one, where you sort of use clubs and, you know, helmets with shields down to fight each other in a martial arts sparring kind of situation. And Mariner kind of takes it a bit overboard, doing quite a bit of damage to poor old Boimler and Rutherford in the old Ambo Jitsu ring. I love the bit where Shax comes in for his turn at the gym, but he's so preoccupied on what's going on his pad that he doesn't even notice the fact that Rutherford and Boimler are completely getting decimated by Mariner, and they're crying out for help. I mean, it's good to see these little kitschy sports reactivated again. I think that's what Lower Deck seems to be doing, is what is the kind of the kitschiest, weirdest elements of Star Trek, like the Mugato, which essentially is a guy in a gorilla suit, or Ambo Jitsu, which was kind of a bit of a naff sport that never got revisited again in Star Trek. So they're kind of taking all these kind of slightly not quite right activities and appearances and embracing them in Lower Decks. We also saw on this planet like a free-range Mugato habitat, I suppose you'd call it. We see Denobulans for the first time for quite a while. We've got the Denobulans being scared off by a Mugato. They've got the whole face puffy-uppy thing going on, much like Dr. Phlox used to do on Enterprise. It's good to see the Denobulans again. We haven't seen them for quite a while in Star Trek, so it's good to see them back. A large part of this episode also kind of deals with Mariner's backstory and her time on board the Atlantis, the Keto. Obviously she served on DS9 and now on the Cerritos. She's had a number of different postings. I think she's been on about 5 different ships or stations throughout her career. And Rutherford and Boimler are kind of getting a bit suspicious. There's a weird bartender who is making up all these kind of weird stories about Mariner's potential history and how she's possibly Black Ops and Section 31 and all of this stuff, which kind of turns out to be a bit of just a story that Mariner made up herself to kind of seem a bit more badass than than she normally would be. We've got Boimler and Rutherford on this away mission to find out what's going on with the Mugatos, which they uncover this sort of Ferengi poaching operation going on. Good to see the Ferengi again. They're always good value, and, you know, good humour can be derived from the Ferengi. Even Mariner goes to the length at one stage to kind of, you know, say, what's going on with you, Ferengi? Like, you know, are you kind of some weird last outpost Ferengi, which was the initial very first appearance of the Ferengi in that episode of Next Generation, as opposed to the somewhat more refined Ferengi that Quark was in Deep Space Nine, even though he played the early last outpost Ferengi as well as Quark. So that was kind of a cool reference. The B story of this episode was kind of a bit boring, to be honest. It was Tendi just going around trying to get medical scans of people, which really wasn't that interesting at all, I found. There wasn't even a huge amount of humour to be derived from it. We did see another situation, obviously, in regards to last week's episode, where we've got Shax leading the away team down on the planet with the Mugato and the Ferengi and whatever. But we've also got Kayshon up on the Cerritos, you know, working at the tactical station on the bridge. So there's this kind of weird situation going on where we've got both Shax and we've got Kayshon both seemingly serving as the sort of tactical / security chief on the ship. So I'm yet to kind of work out what the dynamic is there. And is one going to be the tactical officer and one going to be the security chief? or are they just going to kind of take turns? It's a bit of a weird dynamic, and I really hope they kind of get to the bottom of this kind of situation, because it seems odd that we've got the two different security chief tactical officers on board at the moment. But it does certainly seem like they're making an effort to include both Shax and Kayshawn in every episode, just to remind us that they're both there and both on the ship and serving the same sort of role. We also got a glimpse of this Tellarite character who was kind of doing the space Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter kind of routine, tracking down the Mugatos, but he didn't really last very long on screen before he was promptly devoured by one. We also got a slight diversion with one of the traders from the planet that was dealing with the Ferengi, trying to scam Captain Freeman back up on board the Cerritos to take one of their shuttles, along with a lot of Captain Freeman's collectibles and paraphernalia in her ready room. But he kind of soon gets found out. It was good to see Boimler and Rutherford pairing up. Last week's episode, we obviously had the Mariner Tendi pair up. This week, we've got the Boimler-Rutherford pair up. So it's good to see that they're mixing up the pairings in this show, as opposed to the first season, which kind of had, Mariner and Boimler and Tendi and Rutherford. But now we're getting a little bit more variety in the team-ups, which is good. And I like the way that Rutherford and Boimler solved the whole situation with the Ferengi by teaching them about merchandising and encouraging them to create a Jurassic Park sort of style attraction for the Mugatos rather than exploit them. I kind of got to say this episode didn't really do a great deal for me. The Mugato thing was kind of a little bit uninteresting, really, and there wasn't a huge amount of really good jokes. There was some stuff going on back at the Cerritos with the sort of smuggler guy who tried to scam Freeman into giving her a shuttle and a whole bunch of her artifacts and relics and keepsakes and so forth. And Tendi trying to medical scan people and chasing Dr. Ta'ana through the Jeffries tubes to get a medical scan wasn't really that funny or interesting. I'd say this kind of wasn't one of the overall maybe best episodes of Lower Decks so far. I think we've had a lot more interesting episodes, and we've had a lot funnier episodes as well. So hopefully we'll get, back on track for next week. You guys might have loved this episode. I'm not sure. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section and let me know what you thought of this episode, whether you maybe liked it or maybe you didn't like it as much. Please, guys, as always, if you're able to leave a super thanks, that's much appreciated. Otherwise, please like and comment on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and check out my merch. T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, caps like this one, which you can pick up for a good deal in the merch store. Link in the description. I'll see you guys very soon for my next review. Catch you soon.